Wash your hands regularly.
Use alcohol-based sanitizer.
Maintain social distancing.
Stay. Thank you so much for staying with us on COVID-19 Watch. We told you much earlier on that with the ease of the lockdown in Nigeria and indeed in most other parts of the world, the economies of countries are beginning to pick up. One of the first areas of the Nigerian economy that seem to be back on track is the agricultural sector. And the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service is one agency of government that is very critical to the export of Nigerian agricultural products abroad, from which Nigeria earns, of course, a lot of foreign exchange. The agricultural sector is, of course, the foremost sector, next only to the oil sector. So in the non-oil sector, the agricultural sector is very critical to Nigerian economic development. So what exactly is the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service been doing since the ease of the lockdown? Now we have joining us in the studio Dr. Vincent Isegbe. Dr. Isegbe is the Director General of the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service. Thank you so much for joining us.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Right.
I'm grateful.
Maybe we'll begin on an educative note. What exactly is the mandate of the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service?
Thank you. Broadly, there are two mandates. One is to ensure that any agricultural produce that we have in this country will prevent the introduction, the spread, the establishment of diseases, pests and contaminants of plants, animals, fisheries into the country and then outside the country as well. And in doing that, we safeguard the agricultural economy of the nation and as well as safeguarding that of those importing countries so that they are comfortable with any agricultural produce that we are taking from Nigeria into their country. The second one is that we facilitate international trade in ensuring that all the protocols involved in international trade, as it relates to agricultural produce, we are in charge and we ensure that we meet that obligation on behalf of Nigeria, and then we give that comfort to those bodies outside that ensure that we meet that regulation. So these are the two main mandates of the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service.
So your duty is actually to certify
yes.
the products that go out. What of those that come into Nigeria? Agricultural products that come into Nigeria?
Yes, that's what I said, in and out.
Out,
yes.
Okay.
We certify those that we are taking out to other countries, and then the quarantine service of the others to do their own parts by ensuring that they meet the obligations of the Nigerian government, and at the same time, when they come, we do what we call equivalence. Whatever comes in, we put it to test and confirm the certificate with which they came in with. And if we find that it's okay for us to receive it into the country, we receive it. If for any reason they do not meet the conditions for the import permit or the inspection certification that was done there, we'll ask the consignment to go back. And it's a normal international protocol.
So as a quarantine service, your duty or most of your operations take place at the ports?
Yes, at all the land borders, sea borders, and airports. But then, the situation equally what we call like, maybe we can consider like backward integration. It's important that we have a linkage with those who are producing. Mm-hmm. Because should they produce so much and by the time it comes to the export, they will say, oh no, these ones don't meet the export needs, and they have to go back. We have actually done nothing. So we relate with those who are producing, we relate with the logistic managers along the value chain, we relate with the warehouse managers to ensure that everything that eventually gets to the export decks meets the required standards. Because along the value chain, there could be issues that will result in making those products not qualified for export.
Yeah, but I asked that question because in the past,
yeah.
we are seeing situations where Nigeria attempted to export some products like yam, for instance, and by the time they got to their final destinations, they were certified not to be fit enough for sale or for consumption.
Yeah. The yam incidence, I must say, is a very sore point in the Nigerian export profile. But subsequently, I think it's your station, if I remember very well, that did the investigative aspect of the whole thing, and it was clearly stated that the one who exported to the U.S. had no problem, because he went through the quarantine inspection and certification. He insisted actually that he was going to do so. When the then minister said that everyone must go through the quarantine service, the one that took his to the UK did not. Well, probably for one reason or the other, before the next morning, it had already been shipped out. And by the time it got to the UK, they found out that it was not suitable for their country, and then they rejected the products. So we want to use this opportunity to encourage every exporter to, the first port of call is to come to us and say, look, you intend to export this product or that product to this particular country, and we'll be able to tell you what are the export conditions required of you for that particular country or region. We have a lot of regional economic blocks. You have the EU, you have the US market, you have the Asian market, and then in the Far East, and of course China. So there are different rules that apply to different commodities, and it's important that every exporter is aware of this so that we have seamless export.
How has the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, which of course resulted in a 5-week lockdown in the first instance, there are still lockdowns in some or in many states across the country, but how has this affected the operations of the agricultural quarantine service?
Well, just like COVID-19 has affected every other sector of the economy, the agricultural sector has been affected as well. And we thank God for the express approval the chairman of the PTF COVID-19 gave for the resumption of export. What happened was that a week after, or during the week of the announcement of the lockdown, we had to go back and do some research, and we realized that some countries were actually doing export. And then we had to say, look, if they are doing, what are the logistics problems that are with us here in the country that will prevent us from exporting? So between that first week and the third week, when the approval was given, we met with the exporters, we spoke with the logistic people, the service cargo handling companies, the airlines, and we came to a consensus that we can do something. We equally realized too that some airlines come in to pick their nationals. And we felt, well, if they are coming to pick their national, how about the belly of the plane, the cargo section? Why should they go empty? We spoke with them, and they said they could pick up something. So in just 1 week, one airline was able to pick 8.3 metric tons of fresh vegetables. And by, today is Friday, no, today is Thursday. By tomorrow, another airline is joining. We are sure that before the week from now, we'll be able to resume fully, engage every other sector so that we can begin food export. Between the time of the approval the SGF gave us and now, a lot of goods will be moving from the various warehouses to the ports. That's why it's taking that time. Those that are already at the ports, we're beginning with the inspection and certification, particularly what we call hibiscus, sobo. We have good quantities at the Lagos ports, and we have started with the inspection and certification. Any moment from now, the first consignment of our hibiscus flower will be leaving for Mexico and other countries that are of interest.
Now, I'm aware that there is a federal government directive, in fact a presidential directive, yes, that agricultural products be allowed to move in spite of the interstate restriction of movement. But we know that such directives do not really peter down very, very quickly. How is this affecting the movement of the products from the production hubs to the ports?
Well, I must confess that these directives of the chairman of the Presidential Task Force is moving on well. What we have are just some minimal challenges, like, for example, an agricultural vehicle or truck is coming, and already there's a long queue of those that have been intercepted. And it will be difficult for the truck to get to that borderline to cross over to the next state. With the directives from the SGF, we know who the critical stakeholders are. That is the customs service at the seaports, the road safety on the road, the police, and then FAN, NAQS, who are the handling companies. So all those people have been engaged already, and we are working. Immediately the circular came out, road safety came on board, immediately got in touch with us, and we have operationalized how we are going to do that. Customs who issued directives to their various area commanders, and everybody is ready. So I believe that what we're having now are just teething problems coming up from the implementation of the directive that was given. But I can assure you that the farmers are excited, the minister is excited, everybody in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, they are excited because, you know, there's no ministry without farmers. So anything that will benefit the farmers, that will ensure that we produce to have enough to eat and then to export, it will help us a lot. Don't forget, we're in the area where globally there's the prices of oil, price of oil is falling, and it's coming to an embarrassing low level. So naturally, our first love, the first love of Nigeria has always been agriculture. So now we're going back to what we know how to do best. And there's virtually nothing that is produced in this country that cannot be exported, that is not in demand. In fact, some things you consider as being not useful for us here or being too common are premium products that we can export. So in the last 3 years, the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service have developed what we call the export certification value chain for 19 specific commodities that are high premium, that we think you don't need to carry so much of it to be able to make so much money. And those are the things that we are showcasing and drawing people's attention to, that look, we can make good money from the sale and export of these commodities. So let us key in. We know where the market is. The quarantine service knows exactly what the export conditions are, because the quarantine service is the national plant protection organization for each country. So we are the national plant protection organization for Nigeria. So anything that has to do with inspection, certification, passage has to be referred to us.
Okay.
And if we export and there's any challenge at all, the NPPO, so to say, which is the National Plant Protection Organization for that country, will now write us directly. They have this challenge, this phytosanitary certificate, the date is not correct. We give them to maybe bring in 5,000 metric tons, and it is not there. So why is there a difference? It's the duty of the quarantine service to unravel all this and to give assurances to the other counterpart that, look, this is what happened, we're okay, there's no situation, and the export can go in, and they will accept our export.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Vincent Segbe. So we're looking forward to having more than 19 products being exported in the nearest future.
Thank you.
Great.
My pleasure.
Dr. Vincent Segbe is the Director General, Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service. The Agricultural Quarantine Service has just gotten a presidential authorization to commence the certification and inspection of agricultural products that are being exported out of Nigeria. And he says there are 19 products that are on the list right now, which will grow with time. And of course, will make Nigeria hopes to make a lot more money from agricultural export than probably it is making now from the mineral sector. Thank you so much, Dr. Segbe, for joining us. And we did tell you earlier on that the founder and chairman emeritus of Dar Communications PLC